Welcome back, this is Luca, and I recently purchased for myself the brand new Viltrox 35mm F1.8 EVO for my Nikon Zf. And if I wasn't already, I am now officially a Viltrox fanboy. If you stick around long enough for this video, you will understand why. But if you don't know yet, Viltrox have made a name for themselves for the combination of high-quality glass and affordable prices that they put in all of their lenses. And this new EVO lineup that started with the 85mm that were launched 6 months ago sits in between the Air line, which is the entry-level line, which is the most affordable but still high-quality glass, and then the Pro line, which is almost the top tier. They also have the Lab line, which is even better than the Pro. This lineup of lenses, the EVO, it's shaping up to be the peak of that combination of premium quality and affordable price, but more on that later. Now, not only this lens is good, but we're going to talk about that later, this lens, together with its sibling, the 55mm that will launch together with this lens, is the first apochromatic lens design in the Viltrox lineup. And if you know anything about apochromatic lens design, we will discuss what that means technically later in this video. But if you know anything about those, you know that those are typically very expensive lenses, and especially if we're talking about apochromatic lenses with autofocus. This lens over here gets launched at $395 or 459 euros. And when you see all of what this lens is capable of, you will understand this is basically a bargain price. From a construction standpoint, this lens is really well put together because materials are high quality. It's made of high quality plastic and metal. You get all the features, all the physical features that you get with the higher end lineup like the Pro and the Lab, because you get an aperture ring that you can click, and the click, thanks to a switch on the side of the lens, you get a function button, you get the autofocus manual focus switch, you get a gasket on the back of the lens to help you seal the lens with the body, although this lens isn't as weather sealed as the Pro and the Lab line. They have more weather sealing on the inside of the lens, but this is already a good way of protecting your lens. And on the metal mount, you also get a USB-C lens, a USB-C port that allows you to update firmware in a pretty easy and smooth way. From a dimension standpoint, it's not a super compact lens, but it's not also a super big lens. And from a weight perspective, this lens weighs 375 grams in the Nikon version and 355 grams in the Sony version. The good thing is, from a balance standpoint, even though this lens is not a feather, you can feel the heft. It's not super heavy either, and on a Zf, which basically has no grip at all, this balances well anyways, even without the addition of a grip. So my guess is that on cameras such as the Z6, Z5, stuff like that, or in Sony, even in small cameras like the A7C line, this is going to balance really, really well, and it's going to be super easy to hold and use. So from a construction standpoint, there isn't anything that you can complain about. It's actually a really, really good lens. Also, the manual focus ring is smooth enough. I don't use manual focus that much, so I never talk about that because I just don't use it, but it's there. You get the usual pedal hood, which you can reverse. Sometimes it's a little bit fiddly to put in there, but no big deal. And in general, as I mentioned, a really well put together lens. When it comes to the image quality, as I mentioned before, Viltrox have made a really good name for themselves because even their cheapest lenses have, especially in the recent years, like the last 2 or 3 years, have great image quality, especially compared to the price point. This 35mm F1.8 EVO is no exception, and it's actually an incredibly good lens when it comes to the optical qualities, because this lens is super sharp, even wide open, even corner to corner, to the point where even stopping it down, I didn't see any visible improvement. So you stop it down because you want to, not because you need to, and that is important, especially if you're buying a 1.8 lens, you want it to be usable wide open. This is way more than usable. It's really, really, really good. And stopping down only helps getting rid of the vignetting, which basically is gone once you get to f4. It is visible when it's wide open, but not to a dramatic extent. And once you get to f4, it's gone, and you can work with it pretty well. The lens is also impressive when it comes to holding its sharpness at very close apertures like f11 or f16. And those apertures also give you a fairly nice sun star when you have a strong source of light within the frame. Now, when it comes to sheer resolution, also to diffraction, the fact that I'm using a 24 megapixel camera obviously helps. I am not stressing the lens too much when it comes to the sharpness. So the results may be a little bit different on higher megapixel sensor, like on a Z8 or Z9. I'm using Z or Z because people get offended, so I'm going to use both. Don't complain about that. But at the same time, it is so good, even at 24 megapixel, that I don't believe it's going to be any issue with any higher megapixel camera. So don't worry about that. A noticeable addition to what this lens is capable of is the design to go with an apochromatic design. Now, if you don't know what apochromatic design means, here's a super quick rundown of what that means. It basically means that the three different color wavelengths, they all focus on the same focal plane. But this means nothing if I don't explain you what that means. Usually when you get chromatic aberration is because the different wavelengths focus in slightly different points, and that creates those fringe borders like the green or magenta or blue at times. This is because the plane where they focus is ever so slightly different. An apochromatic design makes sure that they all focus in the same spot. And this means better color accuracy and, most importantly, basically no chromatic aberration. And I can confirm that from a chromatic aberration standpoint, I tried to look for them, but I couldn't find any. So the apochromatic design really does its magic with a lens like this. And having that in a less than $400 lens, it's just impressive. But besides sharpness and chromatic aberration, for a 35mm f1.8 like this, for a fast prime in general, you also want to have a nice bokeh, something that makes the autofocus area appealing to the eye. This lens, probably because it's super corrected from every standpoint, gets you a very good bokeh most of the time, but sometimes gets you slightly nervous bokeh, a little bit of business here and there. At the same time, however, when I shoot this lens wide open, I like the overall look that I get a lot. And so, from that standpoint, even if the bokeh is not the smoothest bokeh of your dreams, the overall look that you get, at least to my eyes, is really, really, really pleasing. And it's perfect for like street photography, travel, candid shots, all of that stuff. This lens works incredibly well. But it's so good that I decided to try a stunt and go with this lens, the Nikon Zf, and also the 85mm f2 from the EVO series as well. Subscribe and stay tuned because that review is going to come as well later, probably this month. I decided to make a stunt and go for a professional shooting scenario with a model using flashes, on location, and stuff like that. The results that I got out of the whole shooting, but more specifically out of the 35mm f1.8, were simply spectacular. I had a lot of separation from the background, even stopping the LEDs down at f5.6, f6.3. It was really good. Even going to f11, because I was trying to get a sun star in the background, I still had some separation from the background. I had the model all in focus, And everything was working incredibly well. The pairing of the 35 and the 85 for this type of shot situation, I didn't expect it to be that good. So even if this is not meant for a professional, professionals can use it without any particular issues. So for this price point, let's just say you're a professional on a budget. Let's just say you're starting your professional career and yes, you want primes, yes, you want fast lenses, but you can't afford to spend in Nikon $3,000 on the 35 f1.2 plana. That is not achievable for if you're starting right now. Well, this lens, despite not being comparable to that one, at basically a tenth of the price, gets you great results and gets you started with shooting with this type of lenses. And from there, you can expand as much as you want. Now, with third-party manufacturers, you tend to worry about autofocus sometimes, but Viltrox have made a good name for themselves in the autofocus department as well. Now, this specific lens, the 35mm F1.8 EVO, doesn't come with linear motors. This comes with stepper motor, STM motors. And you can see that it's not as fast as zippy as linear motor lenses are, but at the same time, it is still very fast and very accurate to the point where you can trust the lens to do its job. Now, I'll be completely honest. I did miss some shots here and there when I was shooting, especially when I was shooting with the model. The model is moving back and forth. Stuff like that happens. And again, the Zf, while really good at autofocus, it's not the best camera when it comes to autofocusing. I have much better cameras in the A7R6 and A7V, A7R5 as well. But also even in the Nikon lineup, the Z6 is better, Z6 Mark III is better, Z8, Z9, and so on. So I can't necessarily blame those missed shots on the lens because I've missed shots even with Nikon lenses and I've missed shots even with other third-party lenses. So I would say it's not the lens's fault. So autofocus is really good, really accurate, and not super fast, but not slow either. Now, when it comes to video, this is where this lens is not at its best, meaning that it's still good, but it's not as good as it is for photography. And there's a couple of reasons for that. There's no stabilization, so you need to rely on the stabilization of the camera, but you also need to consider that the vast majority of prime lenses are now non-stabilized. It's got a pretty visible focus breathing. It's the worst part when it comes to video for this lens. But not only that, it's also sometimes uncertain when it comes to finding the subject and sticking with the subject. Especially in this scene you're seeing, it goes to the background, then it goes a little bit further and then back. It doesn't do it when it comes to my face, but it does it when it goes to the background. Focus transitions are smooth, however, so it's not that this lens is jerky in any of those movements. It's just that it is a very good lens for video as well. It's just not that it's not the first lens that I would think about if I'm mostly a videographer. And so in conclusion, there isn't much more to say about this lens. You get a very well-built lens in a relatively small and lightweight package, packing a lot of features that basically rival the one that you have in the Pro series and in the Lab series. They basically are the same features. You get an incredibly good image quality, very good autofocus performance, overall an incredible package at a super competitive price, staying at below $400. The combination of all those things, in my opinion, makes for an absolute winner, a super easy recommendation for either Sony mount or Nikon mount, depending on what you need. And I'm sure when this lens is gonna come to the L-mount lens, this is gonna be an incredible purchase for that system as well, especially because that system has less lenses compared to the others, the system that I just mentioned. So it's an absolute winner. It's an incredibly good lens. I had no doubts that this lens was going to be a keeper, it was going to be a winner, but somehow Viltrox surprised me in a positive way, giving us way more than I would have expected at an incredibly competitive price. I hope I went over all the things that you may want to know about this lens. If I missed something, let me know in the comments below. Make sure you subscribe and like this video and hype this video as well. That goes a long way, helping me grow in this channel, giving you more content, more stuff. It helps me get to my 10,000 subscriber goal for the end of the year. Help me get that, help me share this video. And that's it for today. Ciao.